I never imagined that a single sentence could follow me for the rest of my life. But it did. That afternoon at Imperial Heights, I said something careless, something I thought would be forgotten. Instead, it shattered a billion-dollar deal and forced me to confront who I was. Since then, I've learned that respect isn't optional. It's a choice we make every moment. And I chose wrong. That mistake became my greatest teacher. I, Ananya Desai, have worked at the front desk of Imperial Heights, one of Mumbai's most elite hotels, for over 4 years. I've greeted Bollywood stars, foreign dignitaries, and high-profile industrialists. I prided myself on my ability to assess people quickly, too quickly perhaps. It was an ordinary Wednesday afternoon. The monsoon clouds loomed outside, casting a gray hue across the marble floor. The lobby was buzzing as usual, with the chatter of arriving guests and the clinking of teacups. That's when he walked in. He wore a crisp black suit, no logos, no flashy accessories. Just elegant silence. He carried himself like someone who had nothing to prove. But to me, at first glance, he didn't fit the typical luxury guest profile I had grown used to. He looked too understated, too normal. Then he handed me a black Centurion card, the legendary American Express card known only to the ultra-rich. My eyes scanned it, but instead of respect, a silent judgment clouded my mind. And then it happened. I leaned toward a colleague and muttered, "Probably maxed out already." With a smirk, I didn't even try to hide. The words slipped out like a whisper, but sharp enough to sting. A couple of guests nearby raised their eyebrows. He heard it. I know he did. He didn't respond. Not a word. Not even a frown. Just a moment of stillness and a look. Sharp, calm, unreadable. That froze me more than any outburst could. I felt a strange shift in the atmosphere. Something in me, deep down, knew I had crossed a line. But I brushed it off. After all, it was just a comment. Just one of those small power plays we indulge in when we feel invisible behind a desk. But this was no ordinary man. And it was no ordinary mistake. Looking back now, I wish I could erase that moment. In India, we speak of Atithi Devo Bhava. The guest is God. That day, I broke that sacred principle. Not with violence, not with rejection, but with something far more damaging: disrespect. What I didn't know then was that my words were about to spark a storm, not just in my life, but in the fate of the very hotel I thought I was protecting with my misplaced pride. That single comment would become the turning point of everything. The truth about Ravi Sharma. As the man turned away from the front desk, the black card still in his hand, I felt something shift deep inside me. His silence had spoken volumes, and yet I shrugged it off, out of pride, or perhaps denial. But by the time my shift ended that evening, whispers had begun circulating among the staff. Did you know who that man was? No, who? That's Ravi Sharma. He's not just any guest. He's the CEO of Global Tech Solutions. My heart sank. Global Tech Solutions was one of the most powerful tech firms in India, if not in all of Asia. Their innovations in AI and cybersecurity had made headlines for years. But more importantly, their firm was partnering with luxury hospitality chains for an ambitious $3 billion expansion project, and Imperial Heights was on the shortlist. Suddenly, the black suit, the quiet demeanor, the Centurion card, everything made sense. He hadn't needed to prove his worth, because his reputation already did. And I had mocked him. I began to replay the moment over and over in my head. The card, my careless whisper, the smirk. I felt the heat of shame rise in my cheeks. What if this moment cost us everything? I turned to my colleague. Did we really just insult a man who could buy this hotel? She looked equally shaken. And worse, he's not here just to stay. He's here for an audit. That hit me like a train. It turned out Global Tech was conducting an equity and inclusivity audit of the hotel as part of their pre-partnership evaluation. They had received multiple complaints from guests and even former staff about discriminatory behavior and elitist culture. And I had just handed him the most personal example he could possibly document. Suddenly, the past made sense. The subtle tension in his eyes, the stillness of his reaction. He had come prepared, not with judgment, but with purpose. He wasn't looking for conflict. He was looking for truth. And I had delivered it to him, unwrapped, raw, and damning. I tried to go about the rest of my evening shift as if nothing had happened, but inside, I was spiraling. Because I knew something now. I hadn't just insulted a guest. I had exposed a problem we all pretended didn't exist. An hour passed, but it felt like days. I tried to focus on other guests, but every word, every action felt mechanical. My mind was elsewhere, on him. Then, just as the clock struck 6 p.m., Ravi Sharma returned. He approached the front desk, calm and composed, the same quiet presence, but now there was an unmistakable edge in his eyes. A silence settled over the lobby. Even the air seemed to pause. "Miss Desai," he began, his voice low but firm. "I came here expecting professional courtesy, not suspicion." I stood frozen. "You judged me the moment I handed you my card. You didn't see a guest, you saw something to mock." I wanted to explain, to apologize, but no words came. He continued, placing a business card on the counter. It read, Ravi Sharma, CEO, Global Tech Solutions. Below it, Lead Auditor, Equity and Compliance Division. My heart dropped. I was here to finalize a partnership. Instead, I received a demonstration of exactly what we've been investigating, he said, pausing. "You didn't just insult me, you confirmed the problem." Without raising his voice, without threats, he turned and walked away. That calm authority hurt more than shouting ever could. I stood there, breathless, humiliated, not just because I had insulted a man of power, but because he had shown me exactly who I was in that moment. And I didn't like what I saw. The moment Ravi Sharma walked away from the front desk, I felt a chill in the air. It was subtle, but undeniable. Something had shifted. I tried to convince myself it would blow over, that it was just a tense interaction. But I didn't know then that someone had been recording the whole thing. By morning, the video was everywhere. It captured the smirk on my face, the mocking tone in my voice, and Ravi's silent, powerful response. The internet didn't miss a beat. Outrage exploded across social media. This is what bias looks like. This is why real change is needed. Booking cancellations started flooding in. Customers, influencers, even public figures joined the storm. Former guests shared their own stories. Small slights, cold stares, dismissive comments. We weren't just exposed, we were unmasked. More than anything, the biggest blow came hours later. The $3 billion partnership deal was terminated without hesitation. Ravi's team issued a formal statement condemning the hotel's culture. By evening, I was called in. I didn't need to be told. I already knew. I had cost the hotel not only a deal, but its very reputation. And I lost my job that same day. But the real loss was deeper than that. The fallout didn't stop with me. The hotel was now under fire, from the media, from investors, from the public. The management team scrambled for damage control, but it was too late. The truth had been seen. And Ravi hadn't come to ruin us. He had come to reveal what had been hidden. Internal investigations were launched. The hotel's hiring practices, guest treatment protocols, and even promotion decisions were now being examined. Ravi had not simply demanded an apology, he had held up a mirror. And what we saw wasn't pretty. I later heard that several staff members were suspended pending review. Not just those who were overtly rude, but those who stood by silently. The ones who enabled the culture without realizing it, or worse, ignored it altogether. It became clear that this wasn't just about one mistake. It was about a system built on quiet prejudice, on unchecked power, and on daily microaggressions disguised as policy. And I had been a part of that system. In the weeks that followed, I kept thinking, if I had just paused, just looked at him as a human being, not a profile, none of this would have happened. But regrets are echoes. They don't change what was. They only remind you what must never be repeated. I didn't want to disappear in shame. I wanted to grow from it. So, I began volunteering at a community center in Dharavi, one of Mumbai's most overlooked areas. There, I met people who had been turned away, judged, dismissed, just like I had done. They didn't have black cards or designer bags, but they had dignity, and stories, and value. And I listened. For months, I listened more than I spoke. I attended workshops on unconscious bias, cultural humility, and inclusive service. I took online courses, read books, and joined conversations I had once ignored. Slowly, the layers of my own prejudice began to peel away. I didn't become a new person overnight, but I became an honest one. Eventually, I started training young hotel staff, using my own failure as a case study. I told them that hospitality without humanity is nothing but a facade. My mistake had once made headlines. Now, I wanted the lesson behind it to echo louder than the scandal ever did. Because this wasn't about me anymore. It was about every guest who walks in with quiet dignity, and about every staff member brave enough to serve them with respect. It took one moment to break everything I thought I knew, and years to rebuild something better. I once believed luxury service was for a select few, for those with polished shoes, perfect accents, and platinum cards. But what I've learned is far simpler and far more powerful. Respect isn't earned by wealth, it's owed by humanity. Hospitality isn't about perfection, it's about presence, about seeing the person in front of you, not the status behind them. Whether a guest walks in wearing designer clothes or dusty sandals, they all deserve the same warmth, dignity, and attention. Not because of what they bring, but because of who they are. Now, every time I meet a new trainee or speak to a classroom, I tell them, the real measure of service isn't how we treat the powerful, it's how we serve the forgotten. And with every person I teach, I heal a little more of the person I once was. Do I still carry regret? Yes, but I also carry purpose. I don't know where this journey will take me next, whether it's back to a grand hotel, a training institute, or somewhere entirely new. What I do know is this: no one should have to earn basic kindness. And if I can spend the rest of my life making sure no guest is ever made to feel like Ravi Sharma once did, then maybe, just maybe, I'll have done something that matters.